Before we begin, I would like to announce that I will be attending the 63rd Annual Convention of the American Society of Dowsers, June 8th through June 11th, being held at the State University of New York Adirondack campus in beautiful Queensbury, New York. The convention will feature dowsing demonstrations and speakers, a metaphysical expo and dowsing bookstore, a wellness center, and much, much more. The Queensbury campus is only 45 minutes north of Albany International Airport, and affordable on-campus housing is available. For more information and to register for this unique event, please visit www.dowsers.org. And now for today's podcast.
Welcome to High Vibes with your host, Bill G. At High Vibes, we're looking into what it means to be a fourth-dimensional being in an ever-changing world. We hope that by listening to our podcast, you can feel a greater sense of peace and connection as we collectively raise our energetic vibration to the next level. And now for today's podcast.
Hello and welcome to High Vibes. I'm your host, Bill G, and today's special guest is Lara Jaye. Now, Lara Jaye was on the podcast back a year ago, episode 34, where we talked about light language. And in today's episode, we're going to be expanding our conversation and first of all, checking in with Lara, seeing what she's been doing this past year and how she's been growing and expanding her business, but also she has a book called The Top 10 Spiritual Practices, which she gives away for free on her website for people who are curious and also for new clients. And so we're going to be talking about that today. So it is free, available for download for anybody who wants to have it for their own, but we're going to talk about it today so that way we can get better an idea of what it's all about. So Lara, again, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Bill, for having me. We had such a blast a year ago, and I was honored to be able to come back and hang out with you again. Thank you.
Awesome. So before we get into the book, let's just check in. How have you been? Again, it's been a year. So
it's been a year. I think I've moved twice since then, working on another move across the country, Florida to California. But yeah, I'm doing great. Business is great. I am, we've all been doing a lot of our own inner healing. And so I did a little bit of that. And as I do that, I'm able to expand my business. And we'll talk about that that's why spiritual practices are so important, that we have to go inward. But, so I've been working on that, and I have a new monthly group called Elevate. So I've always done one-on-one spiritual coaching, and now I'm expanding that into, I have the Light Language Academy, and then I run that a couple times a year. But Elevate is going to be a group where people can join for and actually it's only $50 for 3 months right now. And we'll be able to give that link and that information probably in the show notes. But so people can join for 3 months and get just incredible information and learn these practices. And I'm also, I don't know when this is going to be up, but then once a month I'm going to do a very short intro to my top spiritual practices, just like 3 of them. We'll focus on 3 of them each month, just for free, just to really help people get into their own self-awareness, because without that, we really don't know what we want or where we want to go or how we want to show up in the world. So, but yeah, no, it's been a great year, and I see this year being even more amazing. So
awesome. Okay, well, the book is called The Top 10 Spiritual Practices for Busy Leaders. And right off the bat, I just have to say, it is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Every page is these full color photographs, and in every page tells a story and also provides very uplifting messages from you. It tells a little bit about yourself, and then it just takes you into, first of all, why spiritual practices are important in the first place, and then it goes into exactly what those spiritual practices are. So first, take us into why a spiritual practice is so important for everyone to practice, even if you wouldn't necessarily call yourself quote unquote spiritual.
Absolutely. It really has nothing to do with that, but it has to do with spiritual practices lead you to self-awareness, and self-awareness, as I mentioned, is the key to everything. If we don't know ourselves, and know our spirit and what we love and what we don't like, and where we want to go, the universe, God, spirit can't show up for us because we're just following everyone else, or we're spiritual practices teach us how to own our own energy. They teach us how to get to know ourselves and honor ourselves, and help us know what we like and don't like, and then be able to take that out into the world and show up as our highest potential, whatever and whoever that is. And that, I feel like, is the most important thing with spiritual practices, aside from the huge benefit of opening up all your intuitiveness in all the different ways. If people want that, you can, some people don't want it. I have clients who are like, I don't, that scares me. Like, I just want to work on a few triggers. And
Right.
it helps with triggers, it helps us with all kinds of things. And then to take it into I wrote it for busy leaders and CEOs. It's for anybody. It is really for anybody. I'm actually in the process of rewriting it, and I wrote this before COVID, and I wrote it because I got divorced because over a decade ago, after a 25-year marriage. My husband worked all the time, and that was his way of providing for us as a CPA, as an amazing accountant like you are. And I loved his work ethic, but I did the same thing. We both worked so much and worked ourselves in the ground that we weren't taking care of ourselves in the physical way. We weren't taking care of ourselves in the energetic way, or let alone the spiritual way. And that's what really why I wrote this, because I saw that in my own marriage crumbled because we did not put effort into all of these areas. Going to church every Sunday and volunteering yourself to death does not account for actually getting to know yourself and being aware and honoring yourself. That isn't it. So, and I tried all that, had the keys to the church, worked 6 days a week there, and just volunteered myself till I just kept getting sicker and sicker. And then that happened. Then my son, I have 2 boys, and my son, when he was 21, he was working as a video game programmer for a company in Miami, and he had a seizure and was in the hospital. I had to fly down from Indiana to help him. He had a seizure. They were working him 7 days a week. And these are young kids, newly out of college, programmers. They don't care. And the boss said to me when I came in, he's like, take as much time as you want, but when he comes back, nothing's changing. So there's no time for spiritual practices. There's no time for take care of yourself physically or energetically. My son was like comatose for a week in his apartment while I was, and he couldn't touch the computer. He could hardly, the seizure really did not really did a little bit of damage, but he's come out of that. But both my boys have learned from watching this that you can give 100% to work, but what about the rest of what about the rest of your spiritual piece, the physical, the energetic? And so really that's what my heart was when I wrote this. And I love the shift since the pandemic, and that more people are opening up to this and the other areas in their life and really making it a priority.
Right. And I've also noticed, even with the clients that I see, and myself too, because I've also committed to going through a self-healing journey myself. And it's amazing, you do this work for 20 plus years and you think you've got stuff licked, and then then you start doing some more inner journey and more healing, and you're going through the fire. You have to go through the fire. And the spiritual practices are so important too, because if you are doing a purification program, or you're trying to heal from trauma and whatever, you really need to take the time to actually acknowledge it and understand and bring it into conscious awareness. Otherwise,
Right. It
all
doesn't
you're
do.
doing is going through the
Mhm.
motions and hiding. Because I work with workaholics too, and I'm one of them too. I'm always
I know,
working.
me too. Me too. I always have to check myself. Yes. No,
Right,
I
exactly.
get it. Yeah.
So what I've done in, last year I got so sick after tax season that I ended up in the hospital with diverticulitis. And so this year I'm promising myself that even though I am, working these mad hours again, because heck, it's tax season, what I got to do.
Right.
But
There's an end to it.
I know
Yeah.
not only do I know that there's an end to it, but within all of the chaos, within all of the volunteer work and whatever, I am still carving out at least an hour out of my day for self healing
Oh,
and
I love
self
that.
love and self care. And that is so, so, so important. And sometimes it gets annoying. It's like, oh crap, I got to do my self care, but my God, I got all these emails I got to do. Like, no, this is your self care time. You
Yes.
need to do this. And my self care regimen includes exercise. My wife and I do these workouts together with Beachbody online.
How beautiful. I
So we
love
don't
that.
have to go to a gym or whatever, because if your self care routine is I need to go to the gym, and the gym is a half hour away in one direction, well, you're going to be tempted not to go to the gym
Easy.
because I've got things to do. I've got work to do.
Right.
And so it then becomes an inconvenience. Or I can only do yoga in a scheduled class. Well, okay, it's snowing outside. Now I can't go to class. And all right, so I won't go today, and I won't go tomorrow, and I won't go. The next thing you know, 3 weeks have gone by. You've missed every class
Yep.
because other things got in the way of your self-care routine. And so it really doesn't matter, again, what you are doing, as long as you have made a commitment to do it and actually put it into your routine.
I agree.
So, and
Love
that
that.
is so very important, because, and you're doing it right when you have this stuff still coming up. You have the emotions, the
That's
dreams,
right.
you're doing the work right when the stuff's coming up, and you are doing your and you're thinking about stuff that's not work, not or you're using work. And this is actually something I've found recently, is that you're using your work as an opportunity to continue your self-healing as well.
Oh, I like that.
You're
Yes.
looking for the parallels, you're looking for the mirrors within your work. So it's not just about the work, it's also about the self-work within
And
the
go into the mirror. So I love that, because our businesses, our lives are just a reflection of what's going on inside of us. That's that mirror piece you're talking about. And I love that. So when I meet people, or something's happening in my business, I look at, okay, what is that, and try to tie it back to where is that happening inside of me, or where is that, and looking at, and that's where spiritual practices come in, taking that time to pray and meditate. And it's quiet time, and we fight it so much. It's our life raft, and yet we throw it away sometimes and don't want it. Right.
Yeah, we ignore it. It's like,
We
oh,
ignore it.
or I'll get to it when I have the time.
Yeah, we're never gonna. Yeah, no.
But it's like the adage of you have to meditate at least 15 minutes every day. And if you don't have the time to meditate 15 minutes a day, you need to meditate an hour every day.
I've heard that. I like that. Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
let's
for sure.
go into our specific practices. So
Okay.
spiritual practice number one is be still.
Be
So
still. Yes. And it that slowing down piece is so hard for us, especially Americans and our busy lives. And but what happens is, if we don't do it, we're going to get forced to. you got sick, I got sick, my hair was falling out in clumps. I basically was on the couch for a year when I was going through my divorce, staring out the time I was living in Indiana, and being still. I felt like in the Cat in the Hat, watching the snow fall, just staring out the window. Organs were shutting down. I couldn't do anything because I needed to sit there and deal with my stuff, and that I had ignored for 40 some years. And I love that many of our younger generations are learning to do this a lot sooner. I think it should be taught in schools even earlier, to have that quiet time, to have that stillness. And I have so many clients who listen to podcasts even in the shower. I mean, their mind is always being infused with information, and unless we shut things off, we can't hear. We can't hear anything within ourselves, within spirit, trying to give us downloads or information, or to work with things. So that first and foremost, you have to have that stillness. For me, it's a cup of coffee on the couch first thing in the morning, and that cup of coffee. So it used to be immediately I would go into praying, go and get my prayer list out and start working on everybody else. And now it's no, I've got to take care of me first. I've got to clear my energy. I've got to fill my vessel first before I can give to anyone else. And, it's just things that we learn. Yeah.
Yeah. And even if you don't have time in the morning, first thing when you get up and whatever, learn to be still, even when you're working. So this is something that I do when I'm working at the tax office, because usually the second I get in, there's a pile of returns that need to be done. There's a client waiting at the door for me. And so what I've learned how to do is I can do their return fairly quickly. And then I find myself with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, where nothing is happening, where the next client hasn't arrived yet, and I have a moment. And in that moment, rather than breaking out the next drop off and start getting started on it right away, I put it aside and I say, okay, 5 minutes, just relax.
Yeah.
Don't think about anything. Don't worry about whether or not the next client is waiting for you or not. And sometimes, if I just finished with a client and another client is in the waiting room waiting for me, they'd already checked in or they came in early, I'll make them wait for 5 minutes so that I have my 5 minutes.
You're filling your vessel. Your
Exactly.
vessel. So before you can give to anyone. I love that, Bill. I love that. Yeah. And that stillness, man, everything starts with that. So we can't know what we want. We can't know our self-awareness. We don't know our triggers unless we get quiet and take that time and just kind of empty ourselves. Yep. That's so true. So I love that.
Spiritual practice number 2. Offer gratitude.
Oh, gratitude. One of my favorites. It really it's about embracing the stillness and then contemplating, all the things we have to be thankful for. And we forget. I know I do. We live in such a, I don't know. I feel very spoiled and very blessed, but at the same time, there are things I want to improve on and things that I want to see differently. And then sometimes I get a little pissy and I'm like, stop that, come back to, I have, food, I've made amazing shelter, and, come on, get real. The majority of the world doesn't even have a lot of this, what we are blessed with. And it just, brings you back to what's really important, doesn't it? When we all focus on that.
And again, I'm to just bring it back to taxes just for a moment.
Yeah.
And because gratitude is a huge thing when it comes to even doing taxes.
It is.
Because I'll have a client who did very, very well for themselves the prior year. And I had this one couple that I was working with, and they are both working very, very hard, and they brought in like $160,000 this past year, and which is more money they've ever seen in their lives. And it generated a tax consequence of
Yes.
where they owed taxes for the very first
And
time.
it made him mad.
They had a $3,000 tax bill and they were pissed off. And I
Yeah.
said, now, okay, let's put this in perspective. Do you have $3,000 to pay your tax bill? And they said, well, yeah. And the reason why is because you did so well last year.
That's a really good point.
That
Mhm.
is a wonderful problem to have, that you did
Exactly.
so well that okay, you may have miscalculated a little bit. But I tell you what, we'll just, we'll set you up on a quarterly payment, whatever, for next year. So that way you got enough to cover. So that way I have better news for you next year.
I love that example. That's good.
But yeah, but it's amazing to me how many people get pissed off when they realize that they owe because they did well.
Because they do, it's hard to comprehend. It's like you just think the IRS has taken my money.
Yeah.
So I got audited my first year after my divorce and I was devastated. And it took me a while to become friends with the IRS. So I would, when I had to start sending in estimated payments and doing things, I would make sure I put on a love stamp and pray over the envelope. And I feel like the IRS and I are friends now. I don't know. I hope so, but they still owe me money, but we'll get there someday. They're a little behind right now from what I understand. But one of the things I had to start really doing was as I would get a ding that somebody scheduled an appointment or, they paid. And so I would get a ding, hey, there's money in your Stripe, there's money in your PayPal. I would look at my email and see it and offer thanks. So offer thanks over my bank accounts and over each person who I have new products out now. And so people are buying products, and so there's dings in my email, and I just immediately I offer thanks to Spirit for it, and thanks for the person buying it, like that, like all day long. And what we focus on expands, right? So I'm loving that aspect and being able to feel so differently. And I get what that person, like, you think that they're taking money from us or whatever, but the IRS, or yeah, all of that fun stuff. Definitely.
Spiritual practice number 3,
All right.
observe mental chatter.
Oh my gosh, the mind mess that we give ourselves, right? So what happens right as we get still, and why so many people don't want stillness in their lives, is because our mind, the monkey mind, takes over. And I have written here that we humans have an average of 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day, and most of them actually are negative. And I'm writing a new book right now, and I just wrote a whole chapter on the mind and observing the thoughts and what to do with it. And I still, like, that is something that I struggle with every single day, and how quickly a thought turns into a chemical reaction in our body and creates whatever is happening here and in our life, and brings in that frequency. And that's why it's so important to not just observe it, but know what to do with it. And that, I don't know, have you ever had issues with that,
Oh,
like that?
absolutely.
It's like
Absolutely.
all
Because
of these different voices in our head, right? Mhm.
right. And like you said, 80% of our thoughts are negative, and
Yes.
they happen within the subconscious. So we're not even aware of those thoughts being negative. And so when you observe it and you see it, then you can say to it, you don't have any control over me.
No.
And I'm going to put these thoughts in a purification space. I'm
Love
going to say,
that.
okay, I acknowledge that I am paying attention to the stock market because I'm worried about my 401k and my investments, and I think they're not going to do so good because the stock market's doing so badly. Oh my God, the end of the world is coming. Wait a second. I'm aware of that. So, what am I truly feeling here? I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling lack. I want to feel abundance. Therefore, I'm going to take those negative thoughts and I'm going to put them over here, and I'm going to allow them to purify.
Beautiful. I love that. That's a great way of doing that, spiritual practice. But it's something we need to be conscious of. Find out subconsciously, because that's what's running, that's what's we're attracting in our life, and that's what's running us, are these unconscious thoughts and things that are stuck. So I love that.
Spiritual practice number 4,
All right.
practice mindfulness.
Oh, this is one of my favorites. And that is paying attention. This is an easy way to remember. It's paying attention to what's in front of you without judging it. That's a key. And it's also bringing in the 5 senses. So whatever I do this experiment when I am speaking, give everyone one M&M, and we bring in the 5 senses with this one M&M, and you would not believe how long that one M&M can last in your mouth, and how satisfying it can be when we're actually mindful when we eat, when we're mindful of what it is we're doing, and when we're doing the things like, even right now as you and I are speaking, we brought in all of our senses, it feels like, and that's why we're not being distracted or this or that. And when you are mindful, it's just the satisfaction level is just so incredible. And the benefits of it, of mindfulness, are just, there's so many, there are pages of it.
Right.
Do you practice that on a regular basis yourself?
Absolutely. And I try to. We all have
Yeah, I'll
times
try.
when we're not present. And it is, I know this is a big buzzword right now, is being present. And that is another way of saying practicing mindfulness, because when you are present, and being present isn't just about, okay, I'm here right now. It's not just that. It's what is around me right now. What am I feeling right now? What are the sensations in my body right now in this moment? I was working with a client who's actually in the process of considering divorce. And she'd been married to this person for 20 years, and she's seriously thinking of letting that go, because everything that she wanted in the marriage is gone, or all the things that she used to enjoy in the marriage are gone. And I was like, okay, well, are you still friends? And she said, yeah, I still like being around this person, but I don't necessarily feel like I want to be married to them anymore. And it makes me very, very sad. Okay. I was like, well, what you're paying attention to is the stuff that isn't in the present. You're paying attention to the stuff that's in the past. How are you feeling right now when you're in the present? Do you still feel comfortable? Do you still like this person? How are you feeling right now about this person? And that got them to really think about it. She was like, oh, wait a second. I'm still friends with this person. I still like this person. I'm just feeling like I'm moving on,
Mm.
and they're not, and they're kind of bringing me down. Okay, now we know what's actually happening here. And it's
Yeah.
not about what happened in the past or what you think is going to happen in the future. This is how you're feeling right now, and being aware of that and being present with that.
Yeah, it's amazing how it brings such clarity when you can bring it into the now moment. That's all.
Spiritual practice number 5.
5.
Pray.
Yeah, 5, pray. Yeah, so these next 3 kind of go together. And it's pray, and then contemplative meditation, and then meditate to create your life. And so let me kind of explain. So praying, I grew up in a Christian church, and I prayed a lot, but praying was always me talking, me writing, me asking God or your higher power. It was always me, talking, my requests, what I wanted. And it is still a very important part, but the meditation part is about actually shutting your mouth and listening. And there's, of course, hundreds of ways to meditate, and these 2 are my favorites: contemplative meditation, and then meditating to create your life, because I feel like it's a very beautiful way to meditate on part of my life in the mornings, on what I want to create and what energy I want to be in. But the praying piece, we all got, I think we all know how to ask for anything. The question is, do we get quiet then and listen? Do we bring in the stillness, offer the gratitude, and allow the answers and the downloads to come in without having all of this noise? We got to shut off the noise, shut off the technology, so that we can actually hear the answers.
What some people do when they pray is that they are asking for things that they don't have. And when you follow law of attraction with the Abraham Hicks law of attraction, you know that when you ask for something you don't have, what you're really doing is telling the universe, I don't have this.
Mhm.
And so the pray is talking. It's expression of gratitude.
Yes.
It's I'm here. And then the contemplative meditation is now I'm here to listen.
Yes.
And then allowing that that inner voice just to start talking to you, what we call our inner our self-healing ability, or our intuition, or our self-guidance, our inner guidance is telling us what we need to do
Mhm.
with every choice point that is presented to us. The
Yes.
answer is being provided if we stop
Are we
and
listening?
listen.
Yeah. Yes. Are we listening though? Yeah. It's key. It's key. It's a very important part. And the contemplative meditation, have you ever done that specifically? Have you ever tried that?
I've tried Kriya meditation.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I have tried I'm various other meditations as well.
Yeah, I love that. So the meditate to create your life is yeah, the contemplative meditation for me is just taking like one word and focusing on that word. And I'm actually creating some cards to go with that right now. It's basically like taking an energy and putting it on you, putting it in you, an energy or something that you want to create in your life, because you have to be it if you want, instead of like we talked about with the prayer, it's something we don't have. So, well, we're going to already have it, that energy of it. And then meditating to create your life is, as I was sitting on that couch and so sick in Indiana, I would dream about living on the beach. And I was going through the divorce. I had one son already in college, one in high school. And I would dream about what it would be like to live in a warm climate, where I could have an outdoor lifestyle and live on the beach, walk on the beach every day. And I dreamt this for a year. And within 2 years, I was living on the beach, living that lifestyle. And it was pretty amazing. It just happened so smoothly, but I was already in the energy of it. It happened. And when I moved from Indiana to Florida, I knew one person, but it didn't matter. I was called and I knew where to go. My body knew where to go because I had been meditating about it for so long. How I
That's
wanted to create my life, how I wanted to feel. Mhm.
that's how we ended up in Vermont. Is we didn't know anybody here when we moved here,
Really?
but it was all the other moves that Nina and I did before. We were running away from things, and so it was out of the frying pan into the fire every single time. And this was the first place that we went to where we meditated on it and we realized what we wanted to create. Because one of the things about New England is we would always come up here to vacation, to get away
Mhm.
from our lives and to relax. Well, if that's how we felt about New England, why don't we just live there?
Let's live in
And
our paradise. Mhm.
so the answer was right in front of us all along.
It usually is.
But then when we were quiet and we allowed to ourselves to meditate it and to visualize it and see ourselves there, then the creation of it just simply happened. So, spiritual practice number 7, get physical.
Let's get physical. I love that. So I find that if I'm not moving, if all the energy gets stuck, my emotions, things are not moving through. And we also have a planet full of very sensitive, empathetic people right now. who are feeling everyone's everything. And then we also have a planet of people who are releasing a lot of stuff. So everyone is picking up everybody's stuff. There's a lot of SpongeBobs walking around. And at one point, I was one of those curled up in a ball and had to learn how to. The next one is energy, and we'll talk more about that. But being physical moves the stuff, helps move it through. And these are masterpieces. We're actually these huge spiritual beings shoved into these bodies, and this is our meat suit or human, I don't know what you want to call it, but we picked this out. I don't know why I picked this out, but we did. And we they're masterpieces. We need to honor them and take care of. They have a whole physical piece that they need to be taken care of, or we lose it.
Yeah.
So yeah, as
and
we
it's
know.
and your body is a beautiful thing. It is.
Yes, yes.
And to and we're not just talking about body positivity here. We're
No,
talking
no.
about learning how to move it. And one of the things that in our sedentary lifestyles is that we don't have enough core strength. We don't have enough upper body and lower body strength. We don't have enough cardiovascular strength. And people are like, okay, yeah, I walk, I go for walks. That's good enough. And I would argue, no, that's really, if you have the ability to constantly be upping your game when it comes to your physicality, to
Yes.
get stronger, it's not just about the endorphins you get from exercising and eating right and drinking enough water. It helps to elevate you energetically
100%. Yes.
and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
I started exercising on a regular basis about a year and a half ago, and I could not do a single push-up, and I could barely do 20 crunches. And now I can do like 20 push-ups in easily. And I just bought myself a brand new set of free weights because now I'm up to 24s on my free weights, and I'm so proud
Woo!
of that.
That's
And
awesome.
and also when it comes to your weight, what is a healthy weight? And it's just numbers. It really comes down to how are you feeling? How is your core strength and how is your overall health? Are you finding yourself getting sick? Are you finding yourself catching every cold and flu that comes out there? If you are, then you are not being physical enough. And when you put being physical into a spiritual practice,
Huge, huge, huge. Yes, I love that film. Yes, the energy it gives you, the excitement for life, it clears your mind, like the things that it does, you just can't even, it accumulates. Meditation accumulates. It's not just a one-time thing. It's incredible. Yeah.
spiritual practice number 8, clear your energy.
Ooh, clear your energy. This is one of my favorites, of course, with what I do. And this is pretty much where I started when I was so sick and couldn't do the physical piece. I started with clearing my energy and learning about energy and how it was affecting my aura and my chakras. And so for me, I utilized all different kinds of healing modalities, became a Reiki master, and then started channeling the light language and using the light language to clear the energy. But it basically, I had all these holes and cuts and tears in my energy field, and was able to clearing your energy. So when you have all of that, you pick up everybody's everything. Like I mentioned, have these SpongeBob energy fields. And so it's really important to keep your energy clear. And that's back to being still and knowing who you are, your self-awareness. So the second I feel off nowadays, if I go to the grocery and I pick up something, I walked into I wrote about this in my next book. I went to the grocery and I walked through I call it a black blob of energy of some sort. And it was like a goo all over my energy field. I knew it immediately, but it took me, there was a lot, and it took me a little bit to get it off. So I know myself so well that I can recognize it right away, but then I need to take the time to clear it. So if I'm going rushing about my day and know that I feel off and not going back and clearing it, things usually go downhill. That's when I hit all the stop signs. That's when versus I'm in flow. It's a whole different energy when your energy's not clear. Have you ever noticed the difference?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, I'm learning some regular dowsing, some, what I call regular dowsing, but I do Akashic dowsing, but I'm also learning how to do dowsing with other tools as well. And one of the daily practices I'm starting to get into about raising one's energy is raising the energy of your dwelling. And I
Yes.
talked to Shelley Darling about this in our last episode. And in that episode, we were talking about when your home is at a vibration that is the vibration that you are striving for, your actual home acts as a glass ceiling. And so when you're home, you're like, oh, I feel terrible. Or maybe you go off to a retreat and you are just on cloud nine at this retreat. And then the second you come home, you feel like crap. And it's
Yep.
because you raised your vibration to a high, high level, and then you come back to your house where it's in the toilet.
Yep.
And now it doesn't feel like a good fit anymore. So there's protocols, there's dowsing protocols where you can actually raise the vibration of your house. And you always want your house to be a higher vibration than you are. So you always have somewhere to go. And
So
that
you
way it
can
feels like
grow. You can
expansive.
grow into that. Yes. So, and I talk a lot about that traveling as much as I do and staying in Airbnbs and hotels. So I have to clear them ahead of time before I get there, just so I can even sleep. And I have a blog article on about something about your pillow and just does your pillow talk to you at night? Because the pillows in the hotel rooms hold all that energy. So when you're out I get my house feeling great, but then I'm out traveling, so I've got to keep all of that just in line and flow as well. But I love that analogy of, yeah, the spiritual retreat and coming home, and if it's not in alignment with you, not in harmony with you, like that is super important. To what are you going to do to raise the roof, so to speak, for yourself? Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
So spiritual practice number 9,
Number 9.
choose happiness.
Oh, happiness, one of my favorites. I for a long time I had my company focused on, choosing happiness. It seems like such a silly, overused word. We hear it a lot. And I really wanted to focus on this because it took me a while to figure out that happy was being content no matter what, and that it was a choice. And you make the choice during the stillness that I'm going to choose to be happy no matter the chaos, no matter what's going on. And I'm going to be happy with, it doesn't mean that everything is perfect in your life, but it does mean that I'm going to choose happiness today in this moment and go from there. And I think that if more of us did that, the vibration of the planet would raise a lot faster.
And some people think of choosing happiness as I'm unhappy in my job, therefore I'm going to choose a different job. And then when they go to that other job, they realize that they're just as unhappy in that new job where they assumed that they were going to be happier because maybe the job came with a bigger paycheck. And they thought, well, I'm not being paid enough, therefore I go to a job that's going to pay more. That's going to make me happy. But
Yes.
it's a choice. I'm going to choose to be happy. Like, when I'm in tax season, I say this to people all the time. I tell them, I'm a spiritual healer who does taxes.
I love that.
People are like, where does that come from? And I say to them, I don't do taxes because I like taxes. In fact, I'm not very fond of taxes because, they're complicated, they are convoluted, they are unfair for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
but I like people.
Oh,
It makes me happy to help people. And so, and or help people through a tough time. And when people come to do their taxes, that's usually they're in a position in their lives where they need help. They need assurance. They need someone to help them feel better about their situation. And that makes me happy.
Oh, I love
And
that.
and that's why I choose to do that job every year, despite the fact that it's super busy and it takes me away from my primary,
Mhm.
job. It's because it's another opportunity for me to make as many people happy as I possibly can. And that makes me happy.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh, I can see that. And I had a friend say to me, she was blown away at the concept of choosing happiness. Because like you mentioned, we think it's about everything that's going on around us and going switching jobs or this or that, but it's not, right? It's where it's inside. It comes from inside and making the choice, and then it's gonna take care of itself. Yeah.
And this takes us over to our final spiritual practice, which is number 10, follow your joy.
Follow your joy, and they're very similar, but not exactly. So joy for me, and I write, after you choose to be drama free and happy, you can actually follow your joy. And for me, it's joy is the highest vibration, and it's over even love. So joy is the highest vibration, love is next. And then I think gratitude and peace are down there. So even when I'm working with people and clearing an energy field or clearing a house, I say everything that is love, joy, peace, and gratitude can stay, but everything else has to go. And so I use those four as my top vibrations that get to stay in a house, or a person's energy field, and the rest has to go. But joy, following your joy, um, is how you and your wife picked this new spot in Vermont, to live. It's how well, not always for me, but how I'm choosing. And that's a whole nother story on the land clearing and the portal keeping that I do, but on why I move so much. But this next move that I'm making here in a couple months is based off of my own joy and what makes me happy. And for me, it's a coastal home, um, this time on the west coast of California, and not Florida at this point, but who knows? I'll be back. But following our joy, if we can follow that from step to step, I don't think we can go wrong. Now, it doesn't mean things are going to be perfect. Things are, we're still going to run into lessons and some roadblocks that we're going to need to. But overall, if we can stay in our joy and our happy spot inside of us, we're fine. We take that with us everywhere we go.
Following my joy is doing this podcast.
Oh, I love
Following
that.
my joy is dowsing. Following my joy is sitting down with a client and helping them discover what is blocking them, and helping them heal from the trauma that they are holding on to. That is my joy. And like I said in the previous in the being happy, it goes along with that helping people. And and everybody has a different level on that. But I also know that if I chose to be a full-time bookkeeper or a full-time accountant or whatever, that would make me unhappy, because I know that then it becomes about the work. And for me, it's not about the work, it's about the people. So I keep myself expanding. I make it about the joy. And also part of that joy is joy for the self, love for the self,
Yes.
and knowing that that the hard work that you need to go through in order to be in that better place, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging. But if you don't experience joy with yourself,
Mhm.
then you're going to have a very hard time finding joy anywhere else.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Absolutely.
Oh, this was so much fun
It
going
was.
through
I
these.
love it. Thank you, Bill, for having me on.
So let everybody know about your website, and also you have this group that you're doing that we want to talk about.
Yeah, so everyone can go to larajay.com. It's LARAJAYE.com. And on there is you can get the ebook. You can check out Elevate, the monthly program. You can look at the light language infused coated products, bracelets and jewelry, different jewelry, and beautiful handmade candles and lip balms and things like that. So a little bit of everything on there to just make your life really help raise the vibration all around you to help you. It's super fun.
Awesome.
And yes.
So again, thank you very much for coming back on to the show. And thank you everyone out there for listening. And we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Bill and Nina G, please go to www.vitalbioenergetics.com. See you next time.